Right.
Welcome. Are you excited already?
Oh yeah. I started being excited about it half an hour ago.
And then you had to wait for this entire setup and our entire crew of people.
Sorry to keep you guys waiting.
Sorry for keeping you guys waiting. Well, thank you for waiting. This is Robin speaking. Welcome to another Good Place episode. Next to me, Xiao Dong. Thank you and welcome to this public bench. For those who don't know the Good Place interview series, it's a podcast / interview series talking with people about what a good place is in the physical sense and good place as in life. So we've already had a few interesting people on a public bench in different cities. Today we're in The Hague on the beautiful avenue of Lange Voorhout. And it's sunny, as you can see. We're putting on more clothes. That means that we're heading into colder season. So I'm looking forward on how long we're gonna continue this on the public bench. But I think it belongs to the concept. So we're gonna power through for sure. Xiao Dong, welcome again. I'm gonna stop talking now, and I would love to give you the floor to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about yourself.
All right. Thank you, Robin. And this is the most interesting part. Telling about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Well, my name is Xiao Dong Yang. I come from China. I'm 28 years old now. I moved to this country in about 2017 and I have been living here ever since. I work as a software engineer for a company in Amsterdam, but my job allows me to work from home completely. I moved to this city, Den Haag, from Delft in 2020.
Okay.
A few months before the infamous coronavirus lockdown. So yeah, and I've been living here ever since. Well, technically I live in Voorburg now.
Okay.
But I think this is what they call the Haagsland region, right?
Haagsland, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the general region. And I think overall, I think this region is a very nice place, very good place.
Okay.
And I see myself to continue live here as long as I can.
Wow. Because you're from China, yes? And where in China were you born, or where did you grow up?
Well, my hometown is an industrial city called Chongqing in the southwestern region of China.
Okay.
And it's close to the province of Sechuan, which is more internationally well known. And if the name doesn't mean anything to you, it's where the pandas come from and where the famous Sichuan pepper comes from.
Okay. Pandas and pepper.
Yes. Most people at least know one of those things, right?
Yeah. I didn't know about pepper. I didn't know about the pandas.
Yeah. To be honest, I was never much of a fan of pandas, but Sichuan pepper is super nice.
Okay. Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
And I live in Chongqing for the first 17 years of my life, then 4 years in Sichuan, then to Delft.
Okay. And why Delft?
Well, like many other Chinese students who studied their bachelor program at home, I was looking at the option to study abroad, and as a method of moving out of the country, I applied for a few different schools, and in the end I was left with two options: the one in Delft and the one in Prague.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually pretty excited about the possibility to moving into Prague because Prague is has this very romantic imagery, right? But everybody,
yeah,
at least that's how I saw it. The ancient city, and they have the really cool castle in the middle of the city. You cannot beat that, right? Well, I personally find it very cool. Okay. But everybody else in the family suggested I come to the Netherlands instead, which I followed their advice, and here I am.
Wow, interesting. So life takes turns, huh? Otherwise, you would now be in Prague. It's only an assumption, but I only know Prague like as a place where you can party and have cheap booze. So no offense to everyone watching. I need to go to Prague. I need to interview you on a public bench in Prague instead. By moving here just before the well-known pandemic, back in China it was probably even worse, especially when it comes to lockdown and these kind of things, right?
Yes, that is definitely absolutely true. So the measures there were much more authoritarian, if that's the correct description.
I don't know what it is.
Well, here in a way, here a lot of measures were could be argued harsh if depends on the person you ask, but most of the time they were more of a suggestion guidelines compared to the measures we had back home in China, which they were definitely not up for suggestion, and you just have to obey them.
Yeah, yeah.
And well, I moved out of the country. I was in the country back home like 1 or 2 months before the hosting started for a visit.
Mm-hmm.
Then I returned to the Netherlands just before everything went into chaos. So I was fortunate enough to be spared by all of that. Here everything feels very different and relatively much more relaxed or calm and peaceful compared to the situation back home. At least, especially for the later 2 years.
Yeah.
You also spend those time in The Hague, right? Maybe.
No.
No?
Amsterdam.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's the same. It doesn't matter. Back then it didn't matter where you were. Somewhere home, probably. Somewhere inside four walls I was back in days. No, I moved to The Hague in 2001. It's actually during. Yeah, so that's like two and a half years ago. But so it's interesting because being this about good place and how you finished off your introduction, you already said like that you want to live here for quite a long time already. Like that you already know that you want to stay here.
Well,
that was a question actually. Yeah.
I think I think what I meant is I want to stay here as long as I can, right? But there will be foreseeable factor that will probably compel me to move out of the city, and if that happens, I will do so with regret. As for why I find this city, as for why I will feel that way, is because I do like it. I like this place. About what I imagine the natural question will be why. Yeah, I'm taking over his job as an interviewer too.
I'm gonna leave now.
But in my opinion, in my personal experience, this place, the way I look at the city to a place to live, right? I gauge the physical infrastructure, like the hardware, so to speak, the people living there, the culture, the society, the economy. If I look at everything, I would say that The Hague is pretty good. I don't see any aspect where The Hague or this region is severely lacking in, and it seems to be pretty good in every aspect, and that alone is I think that's a great attribute. But you said you moved from Amsterdam to The Hague. Maybe you from as a Dutch, maybe you also have some additional insight that me as a foreigner will fail to see.
Well, it's funny actually. People think we're famous. Look, they start to hand out signatures. Well, yeah, actually, that was my question the other way around as well. Like you work in Amsterdam, but you decide to live here in The Hague.
Well, That's because my first job was in The Hague. I decided not to move to Amsterdam for the second job, which is now in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
At that point, I really liked this place so much, so I told myself, I'm gonna stay here and I'm not moving to Amsterdam.
Yeah, and you don't need to commute, so that makes it easy. Yeah, I mean, why I moved to The Hague was, I think it's more, maybe a city fits to your certain chapter of life, So yeah, the pandemic showed us that we were a bit stuck in Amsterdam. We want to break out more and find more ways, and suddenly you start to, appreciate nature a lot more. So yeah, that's, So I think it's not those facts only. I think it's also just a change of scenery and as a test, as an experiment. But we do like cities a lot because we need the vibrancy. We like to, it needs to be filled with activities and things to do. And there's so much even cultural, so much to explore. That is why I love a city. And that's why I like to be connected to a city or close by a city. So and then we tried it during the pandemic. We tried it out, and we liked it a lot. And then we decided, let's go. But also not making that decision of that every decision should be a life decision. Next week I could go live in Utrecht. Who cares? Nobody stops me. And if I don't like it after 6 months, I could go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So if you're that flexible or that even not bound because of work and all that stuff, you can actually go and stand wherever you want.
That's true, and having this flexibility is also is a great thing.
Yeah.
Allows you to explore more.
What did you say about Lange Voorhout?
Oh, right. Every time I find myself in Lange Voorhout, the experience, I just have very good memory every single time.
Okay.
Like for example, there was a time a few years back. In the summer, there was a musical festival here.
Yeah.
I forgot. I think it was for the Koningsdag. I forgot the occasion.
Koningsdag.
Yeah, possibly. And over there at that end of street, we had a stage where there were musicians performing. And it was open. It was free for people to drop by just to take a look. It was like that moment. If I remember correctly, it was. During the break between those lockdowns where you could come out and do stuff, and
crawl out of your cave. Yeah, it sounds very much like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that was also the first time since I moved to The Hague that I got to experience, what this sort of a vibrant cultural city life, to see what things are happening. And do you watch Eurovision? Did you watch Eurovision?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I did it once for the fun of it, just the experience of watching with friends in the city, and that year there was a Ukrainian electro folk band Goa. That got very famous.
Yeah.
And that summer they were there playing at that end of the Lange Voorhout.
Oh, really?
Yeah, nice. That was a really interesting experience. And at that time I feel like probably every single, Ukrainian is probably was traveling to this part of the country to see them. It was a really interesting experience. That was before the. Actually, I do not remember if that was before or after
the beginning, right?
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, the thing with lockdown that the time started blend together, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I just want to fall back because that's a beautiful memory, and that also says something about culture. Like, what is The Hague for you then? Why do you like it so much in The Hague?
Well, I think earlier you also mentioned how important is like sort of culture, how the sort of vibrant cultural life is for you, right? In that regard, The Hague is pretty good. I think a lot of people say Amsterdam is better. Amsterdam has more of everything, and I also, from my knowledge, I think that should be true. But The Hague also has this sort of balance between having all of that, but still has a sort of medium-sized cities where everything seems, at least in this part of the city, everything seems calm. It's calm all the time, most of the time. This is just hit the sweet spot of having things to do and yet not feel overwhelmed.
Okay. Amsterdam overwhelms you?
A little bit.
Yeah.
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 That's my experience, and also from a more practical point of view, here is also more affordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you live, or how do you live?
I bought a place earlier this year, so I now live close to Bezuidenhout.
Bezuidenhout?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. That's quite a posh area, right?
I think. Well,
You have Benoordenhout neighborhood. It's quite.
Benoordenhout gave me the feeling like more like a lot of a really rich family.
Yeah.
Well, Bezuidenhout, that my impression is that a lot of people like me, a lot of foreigners living in there.
Okay.
Yeah. And they have this one shopping street. It's pretty cool. But I used to live in that part of the city where near the Xiao Quarter, which I would think, if talk about posh or hipster, that's the place to go in the city, right?
Yeah. Zeehelden Quartier.
Yeah. Sorry, part of my pronunciation.
No, look, I'll teach you some Dutch here. It's okay. How's your Dutch?
Working on it.
Okay.
Yeah. I barely speak it. I think I can read okay-ish, and I am spending time on improving it to take an exam so I can get a citizenship here.
Nice. Very good. Cool. It just pops up in my mind as well. The whole language thing was a little intermezzo, so I'm not going to continue on that one. But I do like talk with you about living in The Hague. Bezuidenhout and people like me, foreigners. I just need to ask you this. What do you think of Chinatown? Or at least of the concept Chinatown in cities?
Do you mean the one in The Hague in particular, or just general concept?
Let's start with The Hague and then we talk about the general concept.
Well, the Chinatown, as you call it, my impression is just one or two single street, right?
It's not a town.
Yeah, but that part, it's.
You need to call it China Street.
It has a lot of cool restaurants, but I personally don't have a lot of. Just don't spend a lot of time there, so I don't have much opinion. It's a nice place to dine out with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in my understanding is that the Chinatown in The Hague, or like many other places in Europe, they were originally founded by the earlier immigrants from China, who mostly come from the coastal region, which their own identities and languages. In a sense, their community will be slightly different. In a sense that. If I run into somebody from that community, they probably speak Dutch and Cantonese and English. They might not speak Mandarin, so I don't have a lot of connection with that community per se, or to any other Chinatown in Europe.
Do you also notice that when you go to a Chinatown here or say Amsterdam? Do you notice that these differences?
Well, not in Chinatown in particular, but when I was on the first few years when I was living in The Hague, I was there's this app called Meetup where I was meeting a lot of people, and I met all the Dutch people with Chinese heritage I met. Seems to have that sort of background. That's my observation, limited observation at least.
That's okay. Yeah. But that's interesting, because they grew up here.
I would think so. My understanding is that most of their grandparents, maybe they moved from China to the Netherlands, and the last two generations have been living here ever since. Yeah.
Do you? Because I can imagine there is a large Chinese community. Are you part of that, or you can also connect with fellow Chinese citizens here in The Hague?
I would say no. I still have a few friends who I met in Delft. We studied there together, and some of us are still living in the country, and we see each other occasionally. But other than that, I did not make a conscious effort to connect myself with the Chinese community here. Well, partly for cultural reason and partly for, let's say, political reasons. But let's not go into detail there.
Yeah. But we shouldn't beat around the bush. But I get it. Okay. So your friend circle is a mix of different international, nationalities, Dutch, Canadian, our fellow friend, amongst one of them. And then you mostly met them through your studies here in Delft, of course, and then places like Meetup.
Unfortunately, not through my time in Delft. When I was studying there, I did not do very well in terms of socializing. So I did not make a lot of friends other than the immediate fellow Chinese students.
Okay.
But yeah, oh no, my phone is ringing. But I think most of that happened after I moved to the city through the meetup or sometimes through joining other activity or clubs in the city.
Okay.
For example, I'm a part of this fencing club in the city in The Hague.
Fencing.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And
With like a mascot.
Yeah,
Cool.
and it's a sport I quite like. And over there, actually, I think most of the time, they are a great bunch of lads, and they are very accommodating to non-Dutch speakers. All the courses training is done in English. Although, as things stands right now, a lot of other actually, all the other foreigner members in the club speak Dutch too, so I'm actually the only who don't. But they are very kind and they use English. Okay. But still, I have sort of sometimes feel like this self-imposed pressure that I'm sort of forcing everybody to switch to English by my presence alone. So that's one of the motivators for me to learn a language as well. But I digress. You were asking about the friend circle. But yeah, yeah. Through a meetup, I think the friends I met through meetup were mostly are internationals and some Dutch people who are let's say more keen on socializing with internationals as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You think so?
That's my observation, because for example. Correct me if I'm using that term incorrectly. In my friend circle, I don't know anybody Haganese, so to speak. Haganese, yeah. Born and raised in The Hague. I don't know anybody like that. So I think that's that's what I meant when I say on Meetup. You see the Dutch people. You see they're
also important.
Or they move from other city in a way. Yeah.
That's an expression we use. Even if I move from Amsterdam to The Hague, I'm also import. Mm-hmm. Like not born here, but started to live here a couple of years ago. Yeah, now like you're not a Hagenees, but then you're an Hagenaar.
Mm-hmm. Well, technically not yet, right? Right now, I think by the popular definition, I am just an expat. I think to you to become if I understand correctly, the definition of Hagenaars differ. But I think you still, if you don't speak the language, probably not. You're not either one of them, right?
But are you an expat or are you just an international local?
How would you differentiate these two?
Well, I do think mostly an expat knows that they're gonna be here for only a temporary time. Whereas when I'm talking to you, I don't feel like you're here temporarily. Mm-hmm. You could still live here maybe in the next 10, 20 years, perhaps.
Well, in my personal situation, I will say first I want to become a Dutch citizen so that I can get rid of my Chinese passport. So that I know for sure. But afterwards, I see myself living in Europe. If it's completely up to me, I'll be happy to stay in this country. But since last year, I've had a girlfriend for a year now, and there is a high chance she will have to move to a different city in Europe to continue her study. Okay. And since she has to stay in the lab, she cannot work remotely, but I can. I think it's a natural. What likely will happen is that if her PhD program will be in a different city in Europe, I will likely move to there with her. Mm-hmm. But of course, if she, and I think she will prefer that too. If she can do that inside the country, in Leiden or Amsterdam, then both will happily stay here instead.
Where's she from?
She's from London.
Oh yeah? Mm-hmm. Nice. Very nice. Well, I mean, let's put it that way. Whatever your situation changes, I mean, my situation could also change, right? But your intention is that you want to stay here long term. So that's why I won't be calling you an expat, but that's just my definition.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's just a concept, a term, right? Different people see it differently, and different people apply it differently. As long as we know we agree on what you referring to, yeah, what they're using for, that's good enough, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's also, and I've had that in previous conversations as well on the podcast, is that it creates some distance, mm-hmm. Especially with like Dutch locals, for example. Mm-hmm. If they know you're an expat, it's, I don't know, like, there's the assumption, they will leave at one point. Mm-hmm. So they don't feel like connect as much. Mm-hmm. Whereas the intention is different or more clear, then they probably put in more effort to connect with internationals. Mm-hmm. So I think that's, I do think I would love to talk to someone on a public bench as well from, say, the expat center or whatever place, just to, talk about this definition more and how it's perceived and so on. Because now, of course, people talk about migrants and all these things, and of course now with Ukraine and who knows what with the terrible situation in the Middle East, getting people fleeing their country, and of course they're welcome here. That's also a different perspective. It's also a different situation. So that's. Who knows? This podcast is gonna solve this problem about what the expat definition is. Keep you posted.
But more civil discussion never hurts.
No, absolutely. I think that's why we also have these conversations, right? The dialogue around these kind of things, without getting too political. Would you say? With where you at now, I mean, having a girlfriend, you live in The Hague, you got a good job. Are there factors in life that you're happy with or that are still missing that makes you, first of all, would you say you're in a good place? If not, or you're almost there or close there, what is missing?
I'd like to believe yes, and I like to remind myself yes constantly, because sometimes I find myself thinking no.
Okay.
It's objectively speaking, I think I am happy with my life. At least I feel so most of the time. And I like to advance my career. I like to advance my my knowledge or my skill in hobbies or pursuit that interest me. I like to become a better person, and all that. But those will be lifelong goals, right? You cannot really declare you have reached a destination, because it's something you have to keep doing for the rest of your life.
You'll never get there.
Yeah,
that's what people say.
Yeah.
But
sometimes I also catch myself wandering, thinking the good places out there. I need to go out there and explore. I need to move to a different city. In fact, that's how I felt when I first moved to The Hague. and I feel like this place is not good enough. Well, it's not good enough. I would need to move to a different place. I sort of had this resentment against this place, but over time, I think I corrected that belief, and I started to embrace this place instead in a way. And
you fell in love?
well, that was more recent. I fell in love with the city before I fell in love with a person. But as for your question, am I in a cool place? Yes. What needs to be more needs to be done. I think this is more of a. Actually, this one of the reasons I was quite eager to participate in this interview. I believe that being asked this question will also sort of trigger sort of introspection, will make myself question things that I would be normally too busy to, and I think that's. I think that right now this is something I'll be keep thinking about. To your question. What is still missing for me to say objectively yes instead of coming out with this really super long, vague answer? Yes, but yeah.
We'll cut it. No,
yeah.
No. Go ahead. So that's. But okay. No, the introspection is that. Also, that we're too much caught up in our daily lives to reflect on these kind of things as well, right? So we can work from day to day, go to our jobs, live the life that we live. But it's good to stand still at times and reflect and objectively say, hey, you know what? I'm doing a good job. I should be proud of myself. I love the friends that I have, the girlfriend that I have. And
maybe this is my attempt to summarize the thing I just said. Maybe the better way to say it would be recognize that I want to be in a better place, but I recognize I am in a good place already, and I think these two thoughts should be compatible with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I mean, you're 28. You know, I'm 40. You still reflect and and change things and deviate, and nothing's forever. And I think it's good that you're conscious in your age already about these kind of things, and we'll continue to do so. Xiao Dong, I'm gonna say thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
We're at the end of our conversation. I know you like to ask questions. Is there a question that you still want to ask me?
Well, earlier you asked about my memory of this play, but you also do this photo shoot walk in the city, right?
Yeah.
Any particular good story to share about this particular avenue?
Wow, that's being put on the spot. From a photography point of view, well, I mean, this is one of the avenues with the most beautiful facades of the cities with great architecture.
We can add
I'll add some shots in there, for sure. The Eerste Kamer is located here, so there's a lot of political buildings around here. And this avenue is famous because, even for the king and the queen, they ride their what do you call it actually? Carriage and horses through this avenue every time there's something important to be announced. There's a beautiful Escher museum. For those who don't know Escher, check it out. I love Escher.
How do you recommend it?
How do you recommend it?
I mean, I also highly recommend it.
Oh, you highly recommend it. Yeah. So Escher is amazing, and I love his work. Like the infinity and the depth in his art is amazing. And I have to admit that it also makes The Hague very very much French almost, with the lanterns and the alley of trees. It's gorgeous.
Also, some Parisian cafes along this avenue, huh?
Yeah, there's only no cafes in this avenue. And I noticed that there are a lot of cars around here. But from a photography point of view, it's a beautiful, beautiful, especially now in across autumn with the trees and the leaves falling and the colors. It's a very gorgeous sight. So whenever we host another photography exploration in The Hague, we'll let you know. Check it out. You should follow along, and yeah, we're gonna take some beautiful pictures. But that's a different project. Again, thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate it. For everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. We're available on all channels: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and visually on YouTube. Check out the channels. Please subscribe and like, because that makes us pop up better in the algorithm. I hate that sentence, but it should be part of it. Yeah, and if you're interested in joining me on the public bench, just reach out. Happy to talk to you and hear your story. Okay, all the best. Take care. Toodaloo.